Lord Manjunatha is not just a deity, he is a faith, he is a reverence, he is a living bond that has held generations together at Dharmasthala. But this sacred temple town was dragged into the gutter by the usual suspects, that is the left-leaning media brigade, and right at the front is the News Minute. In what can only be described as a malicious campaign, the News Minute threw a volley of baseless allegations with no evidence, distorted reporting dressed up as journalism, all of it aimed at one target, that is to make Hindus doubt their own institutions. The playbook was predictable as usual: hide behind the freedom of speech badge, play victim when questioned, and then parade as crusaders to expose Dharmasthala's management. The intent was obvious: they want to shake the faith of devotees by fabricating a scandal around the temple. But here's the real question: why now? Why drag Dharmasthala into controversy after all these years? Was it to malign the Dharmatikari and link him to the Sowjanya murder case? Let's rewind to that case. Sowjanya was a 17-year-old student. On 9th October 2012, she went missing while returning home from college. Her last sight was near the Netravati river bank. The next day, her body was found, clothes torn, signs of rape and assault. A young life was cut short. The outrage was immediate. The investigations were followed, first the local police, then the CID, which named one called Santosh Rao as the accused. But the public anger did not subside. In 2013, the case went to the CBI. 10 years later, in June 2023, the special CBI court acquitted Santosh Rao. And after that, it's closed. And now, with no evidence, no fresh leads, the left brigade thought it fit to drag Dharmasthala to this case and link it with them. In February 2025, a YouTuber named Samir Mohammad uploads a video on his channel called Dootha with the title Dharmasthala's Sowjanya Case. Within days, it racks up more than 18 million views. The video digs up decades of crime stories, zooming in on the 2012 rape and murder of Sowjanya, the arrest of Santosh Rao, and the alleged influence in the investigation of Dharmasthala. Then comes the ripple effect. The Tamil Nadu YouTuber Madan Gauri picks up the story. He says Samir's viral video revived public interest. He repeats the allegations. He parrots what Samir spoke. He also says that influential figures linked to Dharmasthala temple, including Virendra Hegde, were involved in shielding the culprits in Sowjanya's case. The video spreads like wildfire. And then came the News Minute. What did they do? Instead of evidence, they brought in creativity. They decided to link the Dharmasthala with every unsolved case they could remember. They linked 2017 Karnool hostel case, the 2007 Aisha Meera murder in Vijayawada, the Valayar sisters case in Kerala. None of these cases had anything to do with Dharmasthala. But why let facts get in the way of a good story? Because for the News Minute, tragedies are transferable. One murder in Kerala, one in Andhra, one in Karnataka, and therefore Dharmasthala has to be guilty. That's not journalism. That is like a fruit salad reporting: mix everything and serve nothing. And parallelly, Samir Mohammad produced an AI-generated expose. His star witness was a masked man called Bhima. Samir presented his word as if it were a divine revelation. And what did this masked man claim? That he was forced to secretly bury 1,000 bodies, that local police were bribed, that most victims were women and underage girls raped and dumped near the temple premises. Claim this outrageous should have been met with questions. Instead, the News Minute treated it as a holy scripture. The News Minute's reporter Shivani Kawa rushed to cover supposed exhumations, and Pooja Prasanna joined her for the ground reports, and Dhanya Rajendran, the editor-in-chief, lent her weight on podcasts. So it was coordinated, it was orchestrated, video after video, podcast after podcast, interview after interview. No proof, but only performance, just like a theatre troupe, except the play had no script, but only allegations. And the absurdity did not stop there. Pooja Prasanna declared, her words, I quote, "The response should be immediate, and that's not an opinion. That's how the law works." Really. Because when someone claims that there are thousands of buried bodies, you don't run in with a shovel, you need warrants, you need forensics, legal procedures. But the News Minute preferred melodrama over law. And they never asked the basic questions. If 1,000 murders happened, where are the missing person reports? How did no one in a bustling pilgrimage town notice? How could one man manage it all for 20 years? So the News Minute stitched old tragedies to new fiction. That is the Sowjanya's case, the alleged Ananya Bhatt murder. These all are genuine tragedies. But these are being used by the News Minute as props to validate their current unproven claims. and comfortably they linked it to Dharmasthala. In the name of investigative journalism, the News Minute interviewed the Panchayat vice president, in which he made it very clear that the unclaimed bodies, suicides and river accidents are officially recorded since 1980s. The News Minute dismissed this as intimidation. When he clarified that medical records rest with the police, not the Panchayat, they badgered him for documents he did not have. And then came the most tone-deaf question of all. Why here? And why not in Kukke Subramania temple? And here comes Danya's propaganda project. On 19 July 2025, the News Minute carried an interview with the masked man lawyer K.V. Dhananjay. So the credibility gap was obvious. A masked man claiming to be a sanitation worker somehow reached a senior Supreme Court lawyer overnight. Maybe it was a sheer coincidence or evidence of another hand at work to defame Dharmasthala is the question. Throughout the interview of Dhananjay, the lawyer to the masked man, the narrative was allowed to flow unchecked. Dhananjay shifted the burden of proof onto the state with the absurd logic. His words, I quote, "If he is lying, he here is the masked man. If the masked man is lying, prove it by digging. If you don't dig, it means he's telling the truth." That is journalism 101 error. The burden of proof lies with the accuser, not the police. So by this logic, if someone says that bodies are buried underneath the News Minute's office, should the police raid it immediately or first demand evidence? Let the News Minute answer that. Now the propaganda extended into Dhanya Rajendran's podcast called The South Central. Anecdotes and local gossip replaced hard evidence. The entire justification for the masked man's attack on Dharmasthala is an appeal to emotion. They say he is wrecked with guilt driven by fear of God. While this is a possible motive, a journalist should treat it as a claim and not as a fact. Dhananjay insists we must take the masked man's words as prima facie truth, but that is neither a journalistic standard to accept nor a valid basis for rigorous investigation. The entire premises that powerful people are behind this and are shielding the investigation is treated as a given fact and not an allegation. No evidence is presented for this central pillar of the story. And when the skeletal remains were found on 31st July 2025, the TNM rushed to call it as a major breakthrough and started their premature celebrations. Here, Shivani Kawa even linked the discovery of the whistleblower's claim of rape and murder without waiting for the forensic proof. A week later, Pooja Prasanna declared, her words, I quote, "Dharmasthala soil has finally spoken up," treating partial bones as confirmation of the entire conspiracy. But the truth was different. Tests show that the remains belong to a man who died decades ago, one nearly 30 years before the masked man's alleged timeline. No women, no children, no evidence of murder. The News Minute's breakthrough turned out to be an egg-on-face moment, but their reports never corrected the record. After all this build-up, the entire fraud narrative collapsed like pack of cards, reinforcing the truth that baseless allegations can never stand without evidence. Now let's quickly see how the lie unraveled. No evidence was found by the SIT at the very spots identified by the masked man. The skull he carried as his confession turned out to be that of a male. The skeletal remains dug up were also male. The masked man himself confessed he was trained by a gang in Chennai and forced to make the allegations. A woman claiming to be his first wife exposed him further. She says that he was a sweeper, a liar, an abuser, and not a whistleblower and not a masked man. Villagers confirmed his background and money disputes before he vanished in 2024. Now, as the story collapsed, BJP MLA Yashpal Suvarna and independent MLA Janardhan Reddy named Congress MP Shashikant Sendil as a key conspirator, allegedly using his old leftist Islamist networks to fuel this hoax. At this moment, even Karnataka's Deputy CM, DK Shivakumar's own remark, he said that this is part of a larger conspiracy, is now being read in this context. So the MLAs demand the SIT show courage and probe Shashikant Sendil's role, or maybe his MP tag is giving him immunity. We don't know that, but the drama of Ananya Bhatt also crumbled. Sujata Bhatt admitted on TV that she lied, that Ananya was not her daughter. Her own brother confirmed it, that there was no daughter, no marriage, and no truth. And now the so-called masked man stands exposed. He is Chennaya from Mandya district, arrested by the SIT. So the News Minute's Dharmasthala's coverage was not journalism, it was propaganda dressed as investigation. Unverified claims were amplified, counter evidence was ignored. When questioned, Dhanya Rajendran rushed to defend her outlet,
which was basically her saying, "Oh, it wasn't just us. Look, India Today covered it, Times Now covered it. Why single us out?"
But the News Minute always claimed to be different, to speak truth to power. Instead, it has churned out over 24 hit pieces targeting one Hindu institution. It's no less than a propaganda factory. They don't follow the journalistic standards. The News Minute stands exposed, their credibility is at stake, and no, their propaganda factory, no matter how loud, they cannot bury the faith, the truth, or the Dharmasthala.